What is the most WTF thing you've experienced/seen during a flight? As the title says, what is the most WTF thing you've seen while on a plane? For more infotainment, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thanks for watching. I travel quite a bit and have seen a few weird things, but on a recent trip from Vienna to Venice things were taken to a whole new level. So, we were about 20 minutes into the flight when I noticed that a woman sitting across from me had a Persian cat in one of those cat carrier bags. The plane was really warm and the cat was sitting in the bag panting. Well, the lady decided to let the cat out of the bag to let it cool off a bit. After trying to shove the cat's face up into the air vents for a minute, the cat literally freaked out. It was clawing at everything, attaching itself to the seats in front, jumping around, hissing, well, you name it. The damn thing went. Anyway, after about 5 minutes of more of the same, the cat completely lost it, tried to climb the seat in front and wait for it, fell over dead. We couldn't believe what had just happened. The owner was trying to shake the cat around a bit to wake it up, but it was a goner. For the duration of the flight, she was sat there holding her dead cat, sobbing quite profusely. Of course, with Reddit in mind, I managed to get photographic proof of the dead cat, smiley face, dead cat on a plane. TLDR, a cat went and died on a plane. Pilot screaming into mic Denver, we're in serious trouble up here. I need. Pilot forgot to turn off main cabin speakers after warning crew to take seats during monster, 40,000 feet hailstorm. We dropped out of the sky when hitting huge air pockets. Bags and people flying everywhere. But the scariest thing was hearing the pilot's panicked voice scream that announcement. We all thought we were doomed. Details as requested. Here are the details and you tell me it's not a freaking air pocket. We're flying from SF to Cincy. In the middle of the flight, the pilot announces to fasten belts because they are expecting a bumpy ride. Apparently there is a very tall weather disturbance that had been reported. Just prior he casually announced that we were at 40,000 feet, expected time, etc. I believe 40,000 was the number but it may have been a bit less. After the announcement we hear pop pop, popo. Pop pop pop. Tons of them and we're all like WTF? Really bumpy. Turns out it was giant hail hitting the plane. Really bumpy. Pilot again announces more sternly for all crew to take seats and no one get up. Really bumpy. Them wham. We freaking fell out of the sky. There is no other way to describe it. It was like you were just sitting in a chair suspended from a rope at the top of a cherry picker and someone cut the rope. Drop, 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 then wham. It's like the plane landed in an enormous vat of cream filling. Sorry, that's what it was like, kind of soft but still a big jolt, but more on one wing than the other, so the plane landed askance and all sorts of went flying out of the right bins to the left, nailing people in the heads. Some people not completely or at all buckled, idiots, flew up and hit the ceiling then back into their seats. Screaming everywhere. Absolute chaos. Then, FML, the pilot screams over the intercom, Denver, we're in serious trouble up here, I need. And a few other words we could not understand. Freaked everyone out. He forgot to turn off the cabin speakers from the earlier announcement. Rough, then drew up again. Same thing but a much harder landing. I mean we dropped for what seemed like minutes but was probably 10 to 15 seconds. Wham! A much harder landing. Flying everywhere, people crying, praying, screaming. Nuts. We cruised through that and it became smooth again. Pilot later announced that he was sorry about the mistaken overhead announcement, etc. He also said that the current altitude was something like 18,000 feet. Whatever the exact numbers were, we had friggin' dropped about 10,000 feet, 2 miles. It was the worst of my 500,000 plus air miles. You never heard so many people clapping upon landing. I was about 15 and flirting with a cute girl in the seat next to me. My family was about 2 rows back with my younger brother, and the lady that occupied the third seat pretty much set me up the entire flight. This old lady was the best wingman ever. Anyway, I get up to use the restroom and she says she has to go too. She gets out first and I'm waiting for her to finish up. We've been flirting pretty much the whole flight and she knows that I'm right behind her in line. So she finishes using the bathroom and I walk in. Right there in the toilet is a gigantic unflushed. To this day I have no idea how you respond to something like that. Maybe she forgot from being nervous about flirting with you. Adjusting her hair in the mirror and making sure there's no booger sticking out. In any case, the way you respond to something like that is you take a next to her unflushed, and if it's smaller than hers, she's a keeper. I was flying to Denver on Delta in winter 2009, and they were switching from cash to credit only. They just got their brand new machines to swipe cards and I was one of the first people to test them out. I ordered a 7 and 7, it was $7. She took my card, swiped it, and the thing that printed out was $0. I left a $3 tip and thought, cool. About 10 minutes later she came by and asked if I wanted another. I said sure, why not? Swiped the card, another $0 transaction. Bought lunch, $0. So I ordered 4 more 7 and 7s and got hammered for around $20 in tip. Checked my bank account the day after and sure enough, only the tip showed up. I have no idea what happened, but that was one happy flight attendant. A guy died next to me once. On a flight from Maui to Dallas, I was half asleep in the second to last row of the plane. While I was listening to music and dozing, I suddenly heard a really loud, hard thud next to me. I look over, and there's a man lying on the ground, completely still. I thought maybe he tripped, but the flight attendant came running and he was unresponsive. She frantically ran up and down the aisles asking for doctors. Luckily for him, the flight was full of vacationing doctors and nurses, all of them in ridiculous clothes. 2 of the doctors who came back were in Hawaiian shirts and golf attire, and the female nurse who came back was wearing a very stroppy, revealing blue Hawaiian print dress. The doctors tried to wake the man up, but he was gone. I was surprised to find out just how much medical equipment they have on commercial flights. The docs whipped out a portable defibrillator and shocked the guy, then set up an 4 drip for him. I never heard a word out of him or saw him move, not sure if he actually woke up or not. Our flight was diverted to LA, and when we landed half a dozen EMT personnel ran on the plane to pull the guy out on a gurney. Unfortunately for me, this whole scenario set off a panic attack, and I had to go find a nice spot in the aisle to lay down so that I didn't pass out and cause more problems for the crew and doctors. It was embarrassing. I was in an aisle seat on a flight from LA to Austin TX. About an hour into the flight I notice this awful smell. I look up from my book just in time to see this 70-year-old woman violently throwing up in her lap. Since I'm a sympathy vomiter, I turn toward the people in the other seats to try and avoid doing the same thing. After about a minute of this and the rancid smell of old people vomit, she is led to the bathroom. As she is leaving her seat, she herself in the seat. So I get to spend the rest of the flight gagging as this and vomit aroma my nostrils. The flight attendants tried to clean it as best they could, but it made no real improvement. TLDR, old woman throws up in herself on a flight from LA to Austin. While waiting to use the water closet on the way to Panama, the door somehow opened while this guy was hunched over the toilet fapping away. There was no mistaking it, this guy looked like a poster boy for the vinegar strokes. At first I couldn't believe what I actually saw. As he turned his head to see the door come open, the most awkward eye contact moment of my life unfolded. He turned to shut the door in a panicked fashion, exposing his junk. At that point my WTF face became encrusted into my facial features for the rest of the flight and even the next day. So, since that time I can hardly use any bathroom on a plane. I'd rather just hold it in than see another bukkake party.